All right, welcome to Haunted Horizons podcast. My name's Alison and I own Haunted Horizons Ghost Tours. Next to me I have Craig, who is
one of the guides and investigators with Haunted Horizons, and I have the pleasure in doing the investigations and the tours. And next to me,
and my name is Craig, and I do exactly the same as Craig. It's cool.
So every week, 2 weeks, we're going to be coming on and looking at different topics, maybe doing interviews with people. And we thought, what better way to start than with Halloween? So we are going to start with Halloween. So what do we know about Halloween?
Well, it's tomorrow night.
I can give you one fact.
What's that?
It isn't Halloween tomorrow.
Ooh.
Not our real Halloween.
Ooh.
End of April.
Who's our?
Well, we're in the southern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
And Halloween on the 31st of October is actually the northern hemisphere. So because
course.
they're actually celebrating going in, well, I wouldn't say celebrating going into winter, but celebrating like the Day of the Dead, but they are the crossover into winter. So, and of course we're crossing over into summer, so therefore technically it's not our Halloween. So we can have it again at the end of April.
We should do that.
We should.
We should have a special non-Halloween event.
Mm.
It's like Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should. We should start doing this, having it in the proper time, because it's believed that that is when the veil between the two worlds is at the thinnest, and that's when the dead will come back. So there you go. That's a little fact for you.
Does that mean the veil is thin in the northern hemisphere now and not so thin over here?
Yep.
Right.
So
we've got a thick veil.
We've got a thick veil.
Okay.
It's probably at its thickest over here.
So you reckon we'll get a thin veil then
Yeah.
at our Halloween?
Well, we can try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's worth a go, isn't it?
It's worth a go.
We'll test that veil.
Yeah. So next year, in April, we'll have a true Halloween in a different time.
Let's just see that.
All right, Craig's got his ball. Wrong, didn't it?
It's only one.
It's a big one. And he's answering a question.
I can't see a thing with these glasses on.
So this ball
Has to go straight up.
actually gives
Otherwise it
answers.
won't-
It's
it can't
a
do anything.
prophetic ball.
It is pretty prophetic.
Batteries are running out.
What does that
There's
say,
no
Gag?
batteries. Let's have a look.
I think it's indecisive on that one.
Yeah. So it believes it's been on the veil as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that the question?
probably. So we'll go into what we'll do is we'll go into the history of Halloween first, where it began, and then Cag's been doing a lot of research on some stories, Halloween stories.
Well, I
haven't
have, but interestingly, talking about the beginning of Halloween, where it all began, I went to the recycling depot at the weekend because I went in the Haunted Horizons car, as you do. The guy pounced on me and said, "Okay, I'm going to test you. Where did it all begin?" And it was expecting me to say America.
you? Yeah, everybody does, don't they? I hear over and over again, "Oh, we're not doing Halloween. That's just an American thing." And people don't realise, or a lot of people don't realise, it's nearly 2,000 years old, if not older. And it actually did start with the ancient Celts.
Mm.
Did you know that, Craig?
I did know that.
You did. You've
Yep.
been. You just have this natural knowledge in your head.
Thank
He
you for
does.
confirming.
Yeah, he does. And yeah, that's where it started. And I guess they didn't understand the weather and a famine would be because of the act of the gods being displeased. So at the end of harvest or at the beginning of winter, they would celebrate and give offerings in the hope of appeasing those gods. That's kind of where it began.
Did they have human sacrifices as well?
No.
Because we're back to the day of the Druids, right?
Aztec might have, and there was evidence of that same celebration in Mexico going as far back as the Aztecs.
Oh,
So they had bonfires and they had parties and
I did read somewhere where the reason that you give out treats now is they used to dance. You used to go to people's houses or places and dance, and for something, for a treat. Now you just have to knock on somebody's door.
yeah. But do you know why they dressed up? Do you know why the masks and dress ups became a thing? Where it originated from? Okay.
Because originally they needed to make sure the ghost didn't come and get them.
He's right.
Had to scare off the ghosts.
Yeah.
Because the veil was so thin, it allowed all the creatures from the other side to come through.
Yeah.
And when they started coming through, they needed something to scare them away again. Because otherwise they'd stay there for the whole of the winter, and that would be bad.
The other thing is also when they were coming back from the celebrations with the bonfires, they didn't want to meet the dead, and if they met the dead on the way, they thought by dressing up as the dead, then the dead would walk past them, thinking that they were one of them.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
These days we call that provoking, wouldn't we? Dressing up like some of the spirits. I think Jodie would know a couple of stories about that.
Yeah, one of our
That old
guests.
tale in town.
So, and it's coming up to Halloween again when she did it last time. So there you go. Yeah, so that's kind of where it began, and of course it changed over time.
So how did it get into America and become so commercialised?
Well, first of all, we've got to go from ancient Celts to the Romans,
Because they occupied.
because the Romans
England.
occupied England
Yeah.
and Europe for about 400 years, and they incorporated all that into their own culture. Because England and Europe were very good at absorbing cultures. We were forever being taken over, weren't we?
We were.
And invaded. The French, the German, the Vikings, you name it, we were invaded. But England was also
Explains a lot.
England was also very good at absorbing those cultures, and a lot of stuff is from that amalgamation. Yeah. Great.
So how did they get into America?
We haven't got to America yet.
Oh.
We're still at the Romans.
Okay. So God bless the Romans.
And then one of the popes decided that he would make that All Hallows Eve, and then to do with martyrs
To worship all the saints.
for the
That's
day.
right.
Yeah, All Saints Day. Well, it wasn't the saints at first, it was actually the martyrs. It was about 600 years later that Pope Gregory brought in the saints. He included the saints in that. And even then they dressed up as angels, they dressed up as devils as well, even back then. I mean, thinking is really that the church was actually trying to take a ceremony or a religious for the Celts and make it into a more sanctioned, church-sanctioned festival. So they absorbed it and made it into All Saints Day.
Isn't there a Roman goddess of fruit and vegetables?
Yes, yes, and that's where apple bobbing comes from.
Came from.
He knows it all.
I know he
He's
does. I
just
told
like
you he
he's
would do.
testing us.
I know, I told
he's
you
just
he would
sitting
know
there
it all.
looking like
I know,
you.
I'm just sitting here just like, whatever.
I could even tell you her name. Oh, you read all the notes, didn't you?
Well, I had a quick look at yours because I was trying to interpret them. They're like your ghost stories.
Pomona.
Pomona.
Pomona. Yes, there was, Craig. She was the goddess that was called Pomona. And she was the goddess of fruits, and that's why apple bobbing came from.
Did you ever do apple bobbing?
Did you ever get an apple?
No,
How you
my
meant to
mouth
get 'em?
wasn't big enough.
We tend to do it on bonfire now.
It's like drowning kids, isn't it? You put your heads under the water.
That's an interesting analogy.
It is. I think it was just some cruelty
We
from
used, to,
adults.
we used to do that with bonfire night rather than Halloween. Because obviously,
I think apple bobbing just became a general game, didn't it? Over time.
and then the one with the flour, where you had a bowl of flour and you cut, you had to have nits on that. You know, okay,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Okay,
That which brings up a great thing. I mean, we'll get into that soon. What sort of things did used to do on Halloween? So things like apple bobbing, and then it went further, and then kind of went to America. So, and it went to America because really a lot of the Irish went over there during the potato famine, so it took a lot of their culture, beliefs, ceremonies with them, and that was one of them. And America made it their own. They kind of changed it, and it became what it is, including the pumpkins, which used to be turnips for us when I was a kid in England. wasn't it?
It was
We
turnips.
used to get our
Yeah.
turnips, and we used to carve the turnips. So
Which was really hard.
it was. I think pumpkins are a lot easier,
Yeah.
but turnips are actually a staple food for the English.
They use potatoes as well.
Yeah, and turnips look so much creepier.
Big potatoes.
I don't know why they went to pumpkins. Pumpkins look really, really
Jolly.
jolly, don't
Mm.
they? With the big smile and the little toothy smile.
Well, they look evil, I reckon.
They don't. They
They
look
do.
cute.
They don't look happy.
They look cute.
They
It
look
depends on
unhappy.
what sort of face you put on.
Have you seen a turnip when it's been carved? When
No,
it's all
it's-
gnarly and
Yeah.
looks much scarier.
I'll have to buy
It looks like folds of skin, doesn't it? On the
Yeah.
yeah.
It looks like something out of a horror movie, whereas a pumpkin just looks orange and round and happy in a toothy kind of way.
So,
And of course, now the Americans get blamed for Halloween.
well, they commercialised it, didn't they? They should be blamed for that.
Well, I don't know. It's always good fun. Why not? Why
Have you
not have a
been
bit
to
of
America
fun?
on Halloween?
Not on Halloween.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Their events leading up to Halloween are absolutely amazing. Every place has its own show, and you have whole shops just for Halloween with the animatronics and going off. It's absolutely amazing. So,
We have animatronics as well. Are we going to
oh, we got.
extract them on Halloween?
Oh, I've got to get her out. She's over there. We should do.
It's a special occasion.
I'll
I
bring
think
her
we should.
tomorrow. I'm coming down. So
Beautiful.
Yes, Kerry, it's all way creepier.
they are. So I'll cut from there. I'm just gonna let people know that we do have a Patreon page, and for our subscribers, we do give them a lot of extra stuff where we can, including they're watching this. Although you're going to watch a kind of more sanitized version, they'll be watching all the nuts and bolts behind the scenes of us doing this. Plus Halloween tomorrow. So what I'm going to try and do is find a little corner tucked away from the tours that are going through, and I will try and do a live investigation for our Patreon people on Halloween tomorrow if you're not doing anything. So there you go. So if you're not on Patreon, if you're not one of our subscribers, go and have a look at the page and go and see what it's all about. So back to Halloween. So what did you used to do as a child, Kat? What do you remember about
Nothing.
Halloween?
We didn't used to do anything at Halloween.
Didn't
No, nothing at all. Bonfire night was a big night for us,
Right.
but not Halloween. No.
When was Guy Fawkes night?
5th of November.
Yeah. So that was a big one.
So yeah, my mum used to make toffee apples, make lots of bonfire toffee. We'd have hot dogs in proper shape rolls. We would have a bonfire, fireworks, and we'd make a Guy Fawkes and burn him. As you do.
As you do, because that's the English way.
Oh yes. So yeah,
Poor Guy Fawkes.
we never did.
All he tried to do was blow up Parliament.
No,
He's just
he wasn't a bad guy, was he?
no, not at all. He's forever been burnt on a bonfire for it. So
Mhm. Even to this day,
Yeah.
they're still burning.
they still have big bonfires and burning.
Mhm.
So he obviously never forgave him. Yeah, I do remember at school with the turnips. That is a big memory that we would carve out our turnips at school, ready for Halloween. But I don't remember doing much for Halloween either. I think as teenagers we'd go off and find a creepy churchyard or something like that and go and hang out in it.
No.
I don't ever remember anything special that we used to do as children. Did you used to do anything over here, or is it
No, we never had Halloween.
not at
Yes,
all?
I'd probably speak for everyone in my era. We never had Halloween at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a known thing over here. So there's certainly no going out. There was no dressing up. There was no nothing like that. That's something very, very recent that kids have adopted because of the cultural shift over here into Australia. But
Yeah.
no, definitely nothing when I was a kid.
So what are your kids doing this year? Anything?
No, we got normal stuff, sports and stuff, so we
Yeah.
can't get them out to do anything.
So nobody's trick or treating and
Well, a lot of people are stopping trick or treating
Yeah.
now because it's a safety issue,
Mm.
and parents don't want to go and watch their 10 kids and have to dress them up.
Yeah.
More to the point. So I think culturally that's changing a little bit too.
Mm.
Last few years we've had no one knocking on our door,
okay.
and we still buy lollies just in case someone comes, because otherwise you're not prepared, and that's not.
Yeah. Well, I think from what I understand, it's more street related. Like a whole street will say that they'll be involved, so it becomes safer for kids. So then they can just do that street and knock on the street door, and most of the street knows that they're going to have kids knocking on the door that night, and they'll get involved in it. More so than you go out on strangers. I do remember I used to go door to door though, carol singing at Christmas.
At Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's not a lot.
And it wasn't
No, I didn't
seen
do that
as
either.
it wasn't seen as dangerous back then. It's how times have changed. Is every Christmas we would go carol singing and knock on everybody's door and sing until they wanted to get rid of us. Really, it's like if nobody's had little kids at their door singing, it's like,
It'd be dangerous listening to
you
Alice
pay them.
sing.
You pay them just to go.
I mean, in the UK, I can remember when my boys were younger, is when Halloween started to kick off with just a few people at the door, and I always used to carve a pumpkin and put it on the doorstep, and people knew it was a safe place to come and get sweets, as they're called, rather than lollies. Yeah. I brought, of course, they're 26 and 29 now, so it was a while ago.
So they don't do it anymore.
No, funny enough, they don't.
So
Well,
yeah, I guess it's the area, isn't it? I guess some people get into it, some don't.
Well, I used to do things for my two when they were younger, but I didn't as a child. We'd make things like we'd have hot dogs and I'd put cheese which I did with your two. Cheese fingernails on and have tomato sauce at one end, making out it was blood and that sort of thing.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, I did that with yours.
That doesn't surprise me. No wonder they're warped.
Got Kag as a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there would be no Kag. You've been looking up some Halloween stories.
Well, I've got people that are born and died on Halloween
Okay.
first.
Yeah, because Kag's been busy this afternoon.
Yeah. So I've just got a few. I just decided to get a few people that actually knew, because a lot of people I'm like, oh, what a clue who they were. John Candy. Anybody remember John Candy?
Oh,
He was
I do. Comedian.
He's Canadian actor and comedian, and he played Uncle Buck, and he was also in Home Alone as well. He was born on Halloween. And we've got Christopher Columbus.
Oh.
He was born on Halloween as well, the Italian explorer, navigator and colonizer.
Colonizer. Like a
That's a
womanizer.
polite way of putting it, isn't it?
Vanilla Ice was
All
born
right.
on Halloween. Oh, his real name is Robert Matthew Van Winkle.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
didn't
I never
know
knew
that.
that.
No
I
wonder
was like, really? Nobody changed it to Vanilla Ice.
Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Can you sing one of his songs, please?
Nice baby. Yeah, that's about all I know.
That's Paul.
And then the other one is Michael Landon. You remember Michael Landon?
House on the Little Prairie.
Yeah, Little House on the Prairie.
Little
yeah.
House on the Prairie.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
big
He
prairie.
played Charles Ingalls.
Little
And it was also in Bonanza as well. Do you remember Bonanza?
Oh yeah, I remember him Bonanza.
Yeah.
And then he played that angel, didn't
Oh, did he?
he? Yeah.
What year are you two talking about?
Oh, he died. He died in
Well, we're older
91,
than
so
you.
it was he was born in
Yeah.
36 and died in
Okay,
91.
so he was
so.
a Halloween baby.
Yeah, so he was born on Halloween. So I've got some deaths as well. Anybody, River Phoenix?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was only 23 when he died.
Was he? Oh yeah, yeah. That was sad.
Overdose.
Yeah, we won't go
Yeah.
into that.
No, but he was an actor, musician, and activist.
Mhm.
Indira Gandhi as well, the former Indian Prime Minister. She died on Halloween
Okay.
as well. And Harry Houdini.
Oh, he's famous and a big skeptic in
Yes,
the paranormal.
but he died because he had people hitting him in the stomach, didn't they? He went to a uni or something and was talking about different things, and he got somebody to punch him in the stomach. And he died a few days later of, I think it was peritonitis. What he didn't realise, he must have been in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
He had a ruptured appendix.
Okay.
So the pain from being hit in the stomach would have covered the pain from his appendix, and that's how he died.
There you go. Any more?
Now that's the most, that's the only ones I could actually, because I didn't
Yeah.
know half of them. I've lived a sheltered life. I don't know a lot of people.
There's probably a whole load of famous ones
There probably
that
was.
you're looking at and you're going, oh, I don't know who.
No, I
they are."
don't know who they were. No, I haven't got a clue.
Everybody
Sorry.
else
Skip.
probably knows.
Skip.
Oh, yeah, it was
Skip. Also, did you know that a lot of animal rescue...
Touched by an Angel, that was his show.
God, I can remember Touched by an Angel.
And I'm going to say thank you, Rosemary, because we do have this going live to our Patreon people. So every now and again we may get some comments coming through. So
Touched by an Angel.
Touched by an
I think
Angel.
Rosemary is making a point there.
Oh, Rosemary, that was a good... I used to love that, Touched by an Angel.
I
That was
preferred Little
really-
House on the Prairie.
Oh, did you? Oh, no, I like Touched by an Angel. Okay, did you know that a lot of rescue places around, animal rescue places around the world will not adopt out black cats around Halloween because they're frightened of them being sacrificed? How awful is that?
That's a really interesting fact.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you just stumped Craig. He didn't
I
know
know,
that
he
one.
didn't know that was something hard point, yeah.
You know,
Want
when
to
he
be-
actually speaks, he actually didn't know that. Well done.
I know, but what did they do the
called
same
him
with
out.
black dogs? It's just, I suppose it's witches' cats, isn't it? So,
Yeah, it's to do it, yeah.
but yeah, how awful that people think to do that.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing that people sacrifice black cats around Halloween? And
Well,
what's
it
the
must be
purpose?
because they've stopped doing it. They've stopped. A lot of them have stopped adopting them out. So must be. I don't know who would be as cruel to do that.
Well, it's superstitious.
Yeah.
That's awful that they would think to do something like that.
Mm.
Although animal sacrifices go back to the day of the Druids,
Mm.
so maybe some people still do it these days.
Like, continued.
Yeah. Not good though.
They probably just don't, don't want to take the chance.
No, not in the slightest. You're always going to get the odd one.
Good fact.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I feel quite proud now.
Yeah,
That's-
because I couldn't stump him
coming
with the
out tomorrow
history. So
I know.
I'm sure I can find some history that I could stump him with.
And also, please be careful if you're going to dress up tomorrow. Be careful what you dress up in and where you go. All right. We do know of a young. She's only 9 years old. She was shot at a Halloween party by her cousin. Because the way she was dressed, he thought she was a skunk. And she got, poor bless her, she got shot in the shoulder, arm, and back. She survived, but she's ended up with serious damage to her spine and organs, and that was only back in
What was she
2012.
wearing?
How big was she?
Well, she was only
How big's the skunk?
I think it had something to do with like a tail or something on the back, and so I don't know whether
The
how
skunks
just.
are like
I
that
know.
big.
Maybe his cousin just didn't like
I
her.
was going to say,
I mean, how bad is
how
that?
can you-
And 3 shots in the front and the back.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it down,
Something
get her
wrong
back,
there.
kick
I
her
guess-
over.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
There's
think
got to
that's
be.
a
There's got to be more to that story than actually.
There's got to be
said.
more to
Yeah,
that. You
there's
can't just
definitely.
mistake some child as a skunk.
No.
I'm sorry, Your Honour. Oh, I thought she was a
I thought
skunk.
it was a skunk. It smelled a bit funny, but
Also, there's just be aware that quite often, people have these models that hang around that look like bodies and skeletons and that sort of thing. But just make sure that they actually are plastic and not the real thing. I've come across a load of stories where people have seen bodies lying around or whatever, and there's a postman just delivered the mail to the house. He stepped over the body and thought, "God, that looks really realistic," and he walked off. It was actually he was delivering the mail to the poor guy that was dead on the floor, so that he never got his mail. And there's also one about a gentleman that killed his mother, and he was dragging his body out of the house, and he'd actually cut a head off, and he kicked the head across the road. Everybody thought it was just a Halloween stunt. And it wasn't until they went to remove the body off the road that they realised it was a real one. So yeah, there's some really, really strange stories out there. Really cool though.
Unless you're the skunk.
Unless you're the skunk.
Okay.
Don't dress up as a skunk. What would be the similar sort of thing here? I know we don't have anything that smells like a skunk, but what would we have here that people would want to get rid of? There won't be any sort of animal, would they? Not like
I don't think we have any.
Nothing
Skunks
like-
are cute.
we'd have snakes. People try to get rid of
don't
snakes.
dress up as a snake because
Yeah.
you might get shot.
Yeah, I think most of Australian wildlife is quite cute myself, but
Yeah.
don't dress up as a huntsman, spider. Most people will go for you.
Oh yeah.
Apart from me,
No, I would.
I'll feed you.
Wouldn't shoot him though.
No, I wouldn't shoot. I'd squash him though.
Ugh. It's a big puddle.
Oh dear. So, well, that's some music stories that we wouldn't
I just the one thing as well, just briefly, the fascism began on Halloween in 1922.
Fascism. Can we bring that back?
Because that's when they elected the Italian dictator Benito Mussolini when he was elected, and that was the beginning of fascism.
Oh.
Halloween.
All right. So, do you think we should have Halloween? Do you believe that we should be? Because a lot of people don't in Australia. A lot of people are a bit like the humbug at Christmas. But I mean, do you enjoy the concept of people celebrating Halloween here in Australia, or do you think again, like a lot of people, it's an American thing, shouldn't be doing it?
No, I think it goes down to what we do as well to Haunted Horizons, because number one is you get to do something a little bit different flavour. I think a lot of people are looking for that sort of thing because we deal a lot in history. It's really good to have some of those historical concepts come out in what we do. People like to hear about what the history of Halloween is and how it integrates into what we do, and come out on a different night might change the profile of investigating. And I think they're all the things that we wrestle with. So from our perspective at Haunted Horizons, I reckon we love Halloween. It's just something different. And yeah, it's commercialised, and yeah, the kids get a lot of chocolates, and a lot of people say a lot of bad things about it. But it's something different, and something we don't always get to wrestle with. And I think it's important for us to change different things and admire other cultures for what they can contribute.
Because there are a lot of cultures, I mean, that have similar celebrations.
Well, the Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, there's a lot of different...
Day of the Dead in is it Mexico? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a Spanish festival back in the olden days, wasn't it? But
Well, no, it actually dated back to the Aztecs. So people in Spanish got there. They're still doing Des Muertos or something. I can...
stop making words up.
I don't know how you pronounce it, that's the thing.
Making
But
words
Des
up.
Moines.
No, it's Des Muertos.
It's
Okay,
a city in...
we'll cut. How do you pronounce that? Dia de los Muertos.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Dia de los Muertos.
Muertos.
There you go. I've got it written down because I don't know how to say it.
Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
I think.
Day of the Dead. So they've been celebrating it for a long time. But it's all very similar as well. They dress up, they have their bonfires, they actually give offerings, usually food or animal sacrifices to the deities, the gods. So, yeah. And the whole belief is that's the time when your loved ones can come back and your friends. And the one thing I am seeing in the history is it was never meant to be a bad thing. You know how we've made it into horror, and like movies are all Halloween and it's horror and stuff, but it was always supposed to be a celebration of the dead. It's when your loved one could come back because it was the thinnest veil. And some people used to actually lay their tables and they would put a place out for their relatives or friends who'd passed away because they believed that they would be coming back. And that's a worldwide belief, but just different names, and it always seems to be about the same time.
I think in the later years as well, when we started doing a lot of dividing and seances and stuff, we had a lot more activity around Halloween days, because they could communicate with the other side. So those priests, or whatever you want to call them, that could communicate with the dead, they like to do so around then when the veil was thinnest, because they can get answers on how the crops were going or how the people who've passed on are faring. So I think it's a really interesting concept. It's just something completely different, and I think we'd miss that opportunity if we didn't play with it over here.
Yeah.
And the question is, does it increase activity on our investigations?
I was looking back through some of our, because we do keep diaries on every tour, and I was looking back through some of the write-ups for October, and I wasn't seeing anything out of the ordinary. However, it'd be interesting to see if we move this to, or go and have a look at the end of April, 1st of May, and see. I haven't looked through the diaries for that yet, so it'd be interesting to see if in that time, May, we've had a lot happen in May.
May in
May
Tailem
in
Town.
Tailem Town, we've had a fair bit. We had Joe, didn't we, in May?
Oh, that May.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we had a guest that actually took on the personality of a child and actually looked like a child and led us to a death on the property at that time. So that was May, I'm sure. Roundabout.
I think there's a few of those little snippets of the early days.
We had something big on that, but yeah.
So what do we expect for tomorrow?
Well, we're down at the National Railway Museum tomorrow night, or tonight,
Oh,
when
some
this
of us
goes
are.
up. Yes, well, coming to.
Well, no.
All right,
not
some of us
everybody
will be at Z Ward, but we're not going to be pushing a Halloween at Z Ward because sensitivity of what Z Ward was. But yeah, we will be doing a Victorian night, so we're going to put a lot of the old methods to the test tomorrow night.
That should be quite. Maybe it's something you might be able to live feed as well. To the
Yeah,
patrons.
as long as the guests don't mind
Guests,
me
yeah.
just live feeding while they're doing it, because it's not like you have to be in the dark for that one.
No,
So,
but it'd be quite
who knows, we
interesting.
might be able to live feed for that as well, so we'll see what we can do for the Patreons tomorrow. When you're watching this, it'll be today, because I'll put it up tomorrow.
That's not confusing.
No, it's not, is it? For you lot that
Wow.
are watching, a cat on Mars, for you lot that are watching live to the video that's going up tomorrow, that's not confusing at all, not even for us.
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes, Jodie, we might have already touched on the resident dressing up. So, but overall, for the big stuff, I can't remember October being any different from any of the other events we have during the year.
It's funny because there's two events that stick out in my mind about Victorian nights, and both of them happen on Halloween. And part of the Halloween, for you guys which haven't joined us on the Victorian nights, is we get all the old 1800s, 1900s type investigation methods out. So there's pendulums, there's glass
Table
dividing,
tipping,
table
yeah.
tipping. And CAG this year is going to do a seance because of her newly acquired psychic abilities.
What's that?
So,
What?
haven't I told you that yet? So that's going to be happening tomorrow night or tonight for you guys when you first see this.
So Madam Cag will
Madam
be
Cag, yeah.
Madame Blavatsky will call you.
will be in one of the carriages.
Okay.
So the two things that really stick out for me was one time we did the rolling Ouija. We're not allowed to call it the Ouija, so we'll call it the rolling other thing.
It's a rolling planchette.
Yeah.
It's not a Ouija board.
No.
Well, it's
So
not a
we're
Ouija.
not allowed to have a Ouija board.
No, it's not a Ouija board, but it's similar to a Ouija board. It works the same way. And when we're doing that, is we had 4 people who originally started on the rolling Ouija, and everyone puts a blindfold on, so they don't know what's going on with it. And the little planchette which was on there kept going to different letters. And as it went to different letters and different numbers, it was really, really unusual because as it was going, everyone's finger was on it. But as the fingers are on it, it was like it was going in sharp motions. And it wasn't someone doing it. It wasn't an easy, fluid motion of someone pushing it, because you can always tell. And it was probably the first time I've actually seen that rolling Ouija, planchette, go to certain numbers and letters, which is very unique to one person in the room. It was really cool, and I've never seen anything like that before.
But they're also blindfolded, so they can't see where the planchette's going to, which makes it even more interesting.
And
Yep.
we're swapping
And then we move them around.
the
They're
words and the
soft and
letters
see.
around, so that although they think they've gone to a word that they remember, it's not. It's the
No.
other. So
Yeah, and that was really, really unusual. And the other one, divining. So you put your finger on a glass, and the glass moves to a yes, no, maybe, or whatever the other answers would be on the table. First time I actually felt the little glass move. So really, really unusual. You put 4 people with fingers on it, and you know how most people will say when your fingers are on it, it's one person just, getting a sore arm and it's just moving in one direction. Not this time, because I had someone pin for the person that was doing it, but it didn't work out that way. Because I put my finger on as well, and that person didn't know that I was putting myself into the whole table, and glass was just moving by about that much, but it was moving, and it was just really weird. So 2 times which I can remember, and both of those were Halloween Victoria nights. It was also the night 2 years ago that we had one lady freak out doing the mirrors.
I was just going to say the mirrors that seem to be a big thing on Halloween. Yeah, that is what the weird things are seen. Very strange.
Yeah, we've had some weird stuff in the mirrors, and you know how your eyes can play tricks on you, but there's been a couple of times when the second person who's observing as well has seen the same thing in the mirrors. So it's been really unusual. The cameras haven't picked up anything. Cameras have seen just normal stuff, but you've got the viewer who's looking into the mirror, and you've got the observer behind them looking into the mirror as well.
Yeah.
And 2 people have described the same thing. So the mirror's been, you know, a little bit weird, and they'll be there at the Railway Museum as well.
They will, yeah.
So, I don't know, like...
In fact, we can probably see the mirrors behind us.
Oh!
If I can find the footage.
But yeah, we've had some really strange things reported, and they've been absolutely fascinating. So
just give it one tick. Sorry, guys. What's that little sign that's flashing there? Is that saying that it hasn't been